So in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to my championship table predictions from the start of the 23-24 campaign. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes on today's video, that would be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below how good or how bad were your championship table predictions. Now, it's safe to say I have had an absolute rotter this season, despite getting a few absolutely spot on. Overall, it's one of my worst ever predictions from any of the leagues that I've done since I started doing these predictions from many moons ago. Now, I did actually say back at the start of the season in my original video that my championship ball knowledge wasn't the greatest, and these predictions certainly prove that. It is still one of the hardest leagues though in the entire world to predict. Everybody seems to be everybody. You might get the top 3 or 4 teams somewhere near because it's normally teams who've been relegated from the Premier League. Overall though, everywhere else is very hard to predict. But make sure to drop a like on there for me, subscribe if you're new as well, and let's get into it. Starting out then in 24th position, I predicted at Queen's Park Rangers. They ended up finishing in 18th, so I was 6 places out on that one, meaning I accumulate 6 points. We'll add up all the points and come back to it at the end of today's video. But QPR, I thought under Gareth Ainsworth were going to massively struggle this season, and they did. He eventually got the sack, and I just looked at their squad and I didn't think that if he did get the sack, there would be a manager out there who would be able to turn things around at QPR. He ended up being able to do so. They stayed up pretty comfortably in the end, and that one on the whole wasn't a particularly great prediction from me. In 23rd position, I predicted Huddersfield Town, and they finished in 23rd, so I pick up 0 points for that one. Absolutely spot on with it. I said obviously in the previous season they just about managed to stay up under Neil Warnock. This season though, I thought it would be a little bit more of a tricky task for them. On the whole, they were always flirting in and around relegation, and they have finally been relegated into League One. Obviously, as a Bradford City fan, I'm absolutely delighted with that news. And in 22nd position, I predicted Sheffield Wednesday. They finished in 20th, so I was 2 places out on that one. Obviously, they had the Darren Moore saga at the start of the season. They brought in, was it Zisco? He was absolutely useless. Eventually, Danny Roll got the job, and he was absolutely brilliant, wasn't he? He's one of the best managers in England right now. He had done an absolutely incredible job. Recently signed a new long-term contract with the football club, and I feel like if he gets back this summer, Sheffield Wednesday could be outside contenders of finishing in that top 6 next season. I'm a big fan of Danny Roll, and he has got to be one of the best managers Sheffield Wednesday have had in recent history. What he did this season was absolutely incredible. Only 2 places out on that one though, so I don't mind that prediction too much. In 21st position, I predicted Rotherham United. They finished in 24th, so I was 3 places out on that one, but they never really looked like surviving, to be honest with you. I thought I'd back them once again to survive because of Matt Taylor, but it didn't really work out for him this season. Then they brought in Liam Richardson, and that was an absolutely terrible appointment. I actually watched one of Rotherham's games last season in their 1-1 draw away at Middlesbrough, and I thought they defended really well, but they just never really looked like scoring. I think they scored from either a Middlesbrough mistake or from a counter-attack, but on the whole, Rotherham were absolutely awful this season, and I think going into next season, Steve Evans looks like he's building something good. I think a lot of people are kind of overreacting a little bit to their signings. Yes, they've made some good signings, but their squad was so poor in the previous season that they needed to go out and make a lot of top quality signings, and I feel like now their squad is probably in contention for top 6, but I still think they need a lot more improvement if they want to be going on and running away with it, like what some people seem to be thinking. In 20th position, I predicted Cardiff City. They finished in 12th, so I was 8 places out on that one. Absolutely terrible prediction. I thought they'd be in and around relegation. They've ended up finishing in mid-table, so again, pretty poor prediction from me there. I certainly thought they'd do a lot worse than what they ended up doing. In 19th position, I predicted at Preston North End. They finished in 10th, so again, 9 places out on that one. Again, I thought Preston might struggle this season. I looked at their team and their recruitment and some of the players that they'd lost, and I was thinking it's going to be a pretty poor season for Preston. I could even maybe see them dropping back into League One, but Ryan Lowe again did a really good job with Preston. They were in and around the playoffs for the majority of the campaign. Didn't quite have enough really to kick on and actually make it in there, but they were always in and around it, and yeah, an absolutely terrible prediction from me there, but they certainly don't get much better in today's video. If we go further up, I've got a team that were 13 places out, a team that were 12 places out. You know, you definitely want to stay around for today's video. In 18th position, I predicted Bristol City. Again, they finished in 11th, so I was 7 places out on that one. I thought, again, they'd be in and around relegation. Losing Alex Scott, I thought, would be a massive loss for them. In the end, it didn't really matter all too much, to be fair. They finished in that top half, and Bristol City are always in and around 11th to 14th. It's just kind of the Bristol City position, to be honest with you, and on the whole, again, a pretty poor prediction from me there. Before we go any further, though, with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. We are aiming for 100 100 likes on today's video, so please make sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below, and let's move on to 17th. In 17th position then, I predicted at Blackburn Rovers. They finished in 19th, so I was only 2 positions out on that one. I knew the loss of Ben Brereton Diaz was going to be a significant one, but it actually looked like towards the back end of the season that Blackburn could have gone down, and without Sammy Schmodix, they would have been relegated a long time ago. He scored 30 goals, I think, in all competitions. He had an absolutely incredible season with Blackburn. I'll be surprised if he doesn't get a move this summer, to be honest with you. One last big payday for him. I think when you think back to the COVID season in the second half of it, when I think he wanted to leave Peterborough and drop down into League One, in hindsight, that would have probably been a bad move for his career, because he's massively kicked on at Blackburn Rovers, kind of single-handedly kept them up in the end, and on the whole, only 2 positions out on that one, so in the grand scheme of things, that is a pretty good prediction from me. In 16th position, I predicted Hull City. They finished in 7th, so I was 9 places out on that one. I think a lot of their better signings came towards the back end of the window and in January as well, and I liked Liam Rosenior as a manager. On the whole though, I think you've got to say he failed with the squad that he had. He had to get them into the top 6. I still think it was criminal he was nominated for Manager of the Year, considering some of the talent that was in that Hull City side, but I thought they'd be in and around the bottom half of mid-table. In the end, they've only just missed out on the playoffs, so I was 9 places out with that prediction. In 15th place, I predicted Stoke City. They ended up finishing in 17th, so again, only 2 places out on that one. Pretty happy with that prediction. Stoke, since their relegation from the Premier League, they've always finished between 14th and 19th. Well, that's certainly how it seems. Everyone thinks that this year might be the year where they actually make it into the top 6, but they never do. They're always in and around the bottom half of mid-table, and it's quite sad to see, to be honest with you, because Stoke, from the time when I was growing up, have always been a Premier League club, you know, in and around mid-table, playing long ball, Pulis football, but now they're just in the middle of the bottom half of the Championship and don't really have much going for them, to be honest with you. In 14th position, I predicted at Plymouth Argyle. They ended up finishing in 21st and only just staying up, so I was 7 places out with that prediction. Where do you think, Plymouth fans, you would have finished if Steven Schumacher would have stayed there for the full season? I personally believe they would have been closer to 14th than at 21st. I can't remember who they ended up bringing in, but they brought in a manager who I just thought was an absolutely terrible appointment. He turned out to be that. He got the sack for the final few games of the season. They managed to pick up a couple wins and just about managed to scrape survival by the skin of their teeth. I certainly thought it'd be a lot more comfortable than what it was in the end, and I'm a little bit concerned for them going into next season now without Steven Schumacher. In 13th position, I predicted at Norwich City. They ended up finishing in 6th, so again, 7 places out with that prediction. A pretty poor one from me. Again, I thought they'd finish in the bottom half. They ended up making it into the playoffs. In the end, were pretty poor in that playoff semi-final second leg against Leeds United, and never really looked like they were in the game, in all honesty. But I think you've got to give them credit for actually making it into that top 6 this season. It didn't finish the way that they probably would have wanted it to, and in the end, it's cost David Wagner his job, but I certainly thought they'd do a lot worse than what they did. Same can be said about 12th position. I predicted West Bromwich Albion. They finished in 5th, again making it into the playoffs. I was 7 places out with that prediction. I looked at the West Brom squad and some of their signings, and I thought it screams mid-table, and I think on paper their squad is a mid-table squad, but Carlos Corberán has done an absolutely unbelievable job with West Brom. I think it won't be long until we see him managing in the Premier League. Obviously, he was Bielsa's number 2 since he's made that step up into management. I think you look at the job he's done with likes of West Brom, Huddersfield, for example. I think he's an exceptional manager, and I think he's massively overperformed this season with that West Brom squad. And to be honest, I am 7 places out with it, but I think it's understandable considering how good a job that Carlos Corberán did. In 11th position, I predicted Ipswich Town. They ended up finishing in 2nd, so I was 9 places out on that one. I think a lot of people will probably be quite far out with their prediction for Ipswich, but only 9 places out considering their season. I don't think many people would have backed Ipswich to finish in 2nd. In fact, if you know anyone who's backed them to get promoted this season, let me know down in the comment section down below. But Ipswich, obviously incredible. Kieran McKenna, again, we talk about Carlos Corberán. The job that Kieran McKenna has done at Ipswich Town is absolutely incredible. Recently signed a new long-term contract at the football club as well. He's been an unbelievable manager for Ipswich, probably the best that a lot of their fans have seen in their lifetime, to be honest with you. The things he's done there with the back-to-back promotion, absolutely incredible. 9 places out, but I can't really complain because the job Ipswich have done this season, absolutely brilliant to see. Into my top 10 then, in 10th position, I predicted at Swansea City. They ended up finishing in 14th, so I was only 4 places out on that one. At the time of recording the video, Joe Perreault was still a Swansea City player. I actually quite liked the appointment of Michael Duff. Didn't really work out in the end. They ended up appointing Notts County manager Luke Williams to be his successor, and I think on the whole, if you give him time, he could be a good appointment for them. I thought they'd do a little bit better than where they ended up finishing. I thought they'd be in and around mid-table of the top half. In the end, they finished just into that bottom half, but on the whole, only 4 places out. Considering how bad some of these predictions are, I don't think it is too much of a bad one. In 9th position, I predicted Birmingham City. They finished in 22nd and were relegated. I was 13 places out with that prediction. An absolutely terrible prediction from me there, to be honest with you. I think if they'd kept John Eustace for the full season, 9th would have been probably a little bit of a solid prediction, but they went down the PR route. They wanted Wayne Rooney in, absolutely terrible manager, and I think again he'll probably fail at Plymouth Argyle next season. On the whole, for me, horrible season for Birmingham, and I was 13 places out. One of my worst predictions I've done across all 4 of England's top leagues this season. Shocking prediction, but I think the Birmingham board have got to take the blow for that one, because the managerial decisions they made this season were absolutely criminal. Before we go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. We are aiming for 100 likes on today's video. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new, and get your thoughts in it down in the comment section down below. And let's move on to my top 8. In 8th position, I predicted Watford FC. They ended up finishing in 15th, so 7 places out with that prediction. Again, a really poor one from me. I thought they'd just about miss out on the playoffs. In the end, of finishing the bottom half, and pretty comfortably as well. A really underwhelming season for Watford. Obviously, the loss of João Pedro in the summer was a pretty significant one, and they didn't really reinvest that money. I look back on this prediction now, and the writing was kind of on the wall for Watford. To be honest with you, they were never really going to be challengers this season, and that is a pretty poor prediction. In 7th, I predicted Coventry City. They ended up finishing in 9th, so I was 2 places out with that one. I thought they'd be a little bit closer to the playoffs than where they actually ended up finishing. On the whole though, not a bad prediction. I think when you consider they lost both Gyökeres and Hamer in the summer, 2 massive losses for them, I feel like the prediction is not a bad one, to be honest with you. I do think it was quite a hard team to predict, and to be only 2 places out, I'm not too concerned with that prediction. In 6th place, I predicted Millwall FC. They ended up finishing in 13th, so I was 7 places out on that one, and at one point it looked like they were serious contenders for relegation. I think unless Neil Harris came in, they probably would be a League One football club again this season. I backed them to finish in the playoffs. They were absolutely nowhere near it. 7 places out, and they ended up finishing in the bottom half. And that's only because they won the last 5 games of the season. They were absolutely shocking under their previous manager, and yeah, that was a really poor prediction again from me there. In 5th position, I predicted Middlesbrough FC. They ended up finishing in 8th, so I was 3 places out with that prediction. I don't think it's too bad, to be fair. I backed them to finish in the playoffs. They just about managed to miss out. Obviously, the loss of Chuba Akpom in the summer was a very significant one, and they brought in Latte Lath, who on the whole was pretty much an unknown, but he turned out to be a really good signing for Middlesbrough. Again, when I watched them in that game against Rotherham back in January, Middlesbrough were very frustrating to watch. It reminded me very much, as a Bradford City fan, of us under Mark Hughes, where we'd have a lot of the ball, a lot of side-to-side passing, but no penetrative, I don't even know what the right word is, no penetrative forward passing, no direct play, and it was all well and good, you know, passing the ball side to side, but when you're not creating chances and not creating openings, it does get a little bit boring and a little bit frustrating as well. I do think Michael Carrick is the right man for the job, but I think if he doesn't get them in the playoffs again this season, I think questions do maybe need to be asked. On the whole though, not a bad prediction from me there. Moving on then into my top 4. In 4th position, I predicted Sunderland AFC. They finished in 16th, so I was 12 places out with that one. They had a horrible season, to be fair. The appointment of, I nearly said Ian Beale, Michael Beale. I mean, Ian Beale would have probably done a better job than Michael Beale, to be fair, but losing Tony Mowbray, didn't really agree with that sacking in all honesty, and to replace him with Michael Beale was a terrible decision. Not only did they finish 16th this season, they lost 3-0 to their big rivals in Newcastle as well. Probably expected result, but still, I watched that game and some of the errors they were making were absolutely dreadful, and obviously a horrible prediction. I backed them for the playoffs, and pretty comfortably, to be fair. They've ended up finishing in the middle part of the bottom half, an absolutely shocking prediction. In 3rd place, I predicted at Leeds United. They finished in 3rd, so I'll take that prediction. Maybe a little bit of bias from me, obviously being a Bradford City fan, didn't want to put them in the top 2, but I look at Daniel Farke as a manager, and I feel like he relies so much on individuals. He relied massively on Emi Buendia and Timu Puke at Norwich, and now you look at Leeds United, who relied on the likes of Somerville, Nonto, Ruta, coming up with moments of magic rather than having a style of play. And the Leeds United squad, a lot of them players I feel like could play in the Premier League. You think the likes of Ampadu, Rodon, Meslier. Obviously we've just gone through the likes of Somerville, Ruta and Nonto, so like they do have a lot of very talented players, so the fact he's failed to get them promoted this season. If I was a Leeds United fan, I'd be wanting Daniel Farke to be sacked. But yeah, absolutely brilliant prediction from me there. There's not been many in this video, but I'll certainly take that one. In second position, I predicted at Southampton. Ended up finishing in 4th, so I was 2 places out with that prediction. I thought they'd bounce back at the first time of asking. I actually thought if you give Russell Martin time, and I said this in the video, you give Russell Martin time, he will get you promoted into the Premier League. And it wasn't automatically, he did it through the playoffs, but that's probably the best way to be promoted in the end. And there were strong rumours at the time that they could be losing Che Adams. Obviously, he managed to stay for the season and did quite well for them on the whole, along with the likes of Adam Armstrong, Will Smallbone as well in the midfield. I thought had a really good season, but to be 2 places out on that one, I don't think it is too bad of a prediction. And in first place, I predicted at Leicester City. They finished in 1st, so again, pick up no points for that one. So on the whole, really happy with that prediction, to be fair. I feel like it was kind of expected though, with the amount of money they brought in the summer. They signed some really good players like the likes of Mavididi. They kept like the likes of Dewsbury Hall, Jamie Vardy. On the whole, had a really good season. Fatawu was a really good loan signing. So if we were to go through and add up all the points that I have accumulated and compare it to last season's predictions, which was the first time I actually did predictions for the Championship. In the 2022-23 campaign, I accumulated 88 points, which I was quite happy with, to be fair. Out of England's top 4 divisions, the Championship is probably the league that I have the least amount of knowledge for. But this season, in the 2023-24 campaign, I accumulated 128 points. I picked up 40 more points compared it to the previous season. An absolutely terrible year for me. But you look at the likes of Hull City, 9 places out, Preston North End, 9 places out, Ipswich Town, 9 places out, Birmingham 13, Sunderland 12. I think it is kind of understandable as to why my predictions were so bad. And that's not even mentioning some of the likes of Cardiff 8 places, Bristol City 7, Plymouth 7, Norwich 7, West Brom 7, Watford 7, Millwall 7. I had an absolutely horrible season on the whole. Next season surely can't get any worse than 128 points. They were absolutely terrible. But I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that would be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below how good or how bad were your Championship table predictions, and who you think surprised you the most in the 23-24 campaign. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.